this room every week. Find somebody. This is a good core group of Christian youth. So if you don't have somebody in your life, make a new friend. You know, make sure you take that time to go up to that person and ask them how their week was. Maybe you guys exchange phone numbers, so if you have trouble during the week, you can text and say, hey, can you pray for me? If you don't have that in your life, there is a wealth of youth that would be willing to do that for you right here in this room. Okay? So reach out and find somebody else to be there for you. Okay. This week we are finishing up our 4-week series on friends, real friends. And each week we have been showing some clips of videos about, you know, whether it's shows that you watch or don't watch, but they've been kind of interesting, and some of them have been kind of funny about things that happen in between friends and the bonds and the connections that friends have. And this week is no different. We've got another clip. Has anybody seen the Pixar movie Luca? The one with the kid who's like a sea monster. It's kind of it's kind of like what is it, The Little Mermaid all over again, kind of. I haven't seen it. I was going to watch it, but I didn't have time. But it kind of sounds like the same kind of thing there. So Jacob, do you want to play that clip?
Get the other one.
Down below.
There's one that's got it, I promise.
Give us a minute.
Was it the one where it's showing us the bunch?
Wait, it feels like it's still there.
Yeah, that's called phantom tail. You'll get used to it. Right. Walking. Don't worry, you're in luck. I basically invented it. To start, stack everything one on top of the other, like a pile of rocks. Great. I mean, fine, whatever. Now, walking is just like swimming, but without fins, or a tail, and also there's no water. Otherwise, it's like the exact same thing. Give it a try. That's not it. Try it again. Oh, try to lead with your head. No, more belly. That's lying on the ground. How about this? Just take a step without even thinking about it. No. Don't think about it.
I don't know how to not think about something.
Okay. Watch. Point your feet to where you want to go, okay? And then you just catch yourself before you fall. Yeah, that's right. Good. Yes.
I'm getting it.
Not bad, kid. Alberto Scorfano.
Luca Panguro.
Piacere. Geronimo Trombetta. It's a human thing. I'm kind of an expert.
What does it mean? The thing you just said?
Come on, I'll show you some more stuff.
Okay, so apparently Luca was a sea monster, and then he came onto the shore and he got his legs, and Alberto, his friend, helped him learn how to walk. Ready? Ready? Okay. So maybe you've never needed somebody to teach you how to walk, but I'm guessing friends have taught you something before. Yes? Has anybody had a friend teach them something? Maybe good, maybe bad. Yeah? Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of a poll here, okay? So, which do you like more? Do you prefer to learn something new, or do you prefer to teach other people something new? Right? So, raise your hand. Do you like to learn something new? Yeah? Okay? Or do you prefer to teach somebody how to do something? Okay? Yeah, it's about half and half. Okay? Does anybody like both? Like to learn and to teach? You know, you learn something and you're like, hey, let me show you this really cool thing I just learned. Yeah? Okay, cool. Very good. All right. Sometimes our friends teach us by helping us learn a new skill, right? So maybe like if you're on the soccer field and one of your friends has been practicing this trick and they teach you how to do it. They give us information we didn't have before. Hey, I just saw something online. I got to tell you about this. This is really cool. I learned this. Okay? Introducing us to new ideas, right? And helping us see things in a new way. So, a different perspective than maybe we had on a situation. They've got a different angle or a different view, so that teaches us something to look at a situation from more than one viewpoint, right? Okay. So what about you? What's something that a friend has taught you? Okay? Does anybody have anything that they want to share that a friend's taught? Yeah.
My friend taught me how to sing happy birthday in Spanish.
Very cool. That's something useful. I like that. Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Okay. How do you like to learn new things? Because there's different ways that you can learn, right? How do you like to learn new ideas? Okay, so if somebody's going to teach you about an idea, do you like to, and raise your hand if this is you, do you like to listen to somebody explain it? So that's kind of like in school when the teachers are teaching you something, you sit, you listen, and that's how you learn, okay? So do we have any takers for that one? How about have a conversation with someone about it so that you can ask questions or debate and go back and forth, just like with two people, yeah? A couple there. Or how about do you prefer to go research it and learn about something on your own, in your own time, in your own pace? Yeah? Okay? All right. How about if you're going to learn a new skill? So somebody's actually going to teach you something to do. Okay? Do you prefer to watch someone's example and then try it on your own later? Anybody? Or do you like to try it out with a friend? So it's just like the two of you one-on-one and they show you and you try it, and if you don't quite get it right, they can show you again. Anybody like that option? Or would you prefer to, instead of going to a friend, go get like a professional who doesn't really know you to teach you how to do things, so if you screw up, nobody knows? What would you prefer? Yeah? Who likes the first one better? To watch something and then try it on your own?
Y'all do this all the time. You see something on TikTok or on Instagram, you see it, and then you go try it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Try it with a friend so that you can go back and forth with your friend, or go get outside help who doesn't have any knowledge. No? All right. And although these next few things can definitely teach us, does anyone actually like to learn by making a mistake? You screw up and you learn from it?
I don't like it.
You don't like it, but...
I know it's the way the best way to learn.
What'd you say? What'd you just say? That's the what?
It's the best way to learn.
It is the best way to learn.
Yep.
All right, I teach a first aid, CPR, and lifeguarding class in my class at school. All right, and I make the kids make decisions like this. Because in an emergency, you're going to have to make decisions like this. I don't care what decision you make a decision when it comes to somebody's life. All right? We can make a mistake and learn from it, and you will remember it the rest of your life. But if you don't make the decision at all, or you don't make the mistake, it's really hard to learn from it. So you're absolutely right. Making mistakes is a great way to learn.
Yeah. And one step further, if you make a mistake, try it again until you get it right. Yep. Okay. How about learning by getting injured? So you hurt yourself, and then you learn not to do that again. I'm sure Jordan's done that. With all those tools and learn how not to do things. How about, do we like to learn by being yelled at or corrected? And is that a good way to learn? No, because most of the time, as soon as somebody starts yelling at you or correcting you, it's usually not done in a nice way. And so what do? You automatically throw up that wall, right? It's like the cotton balls go in the ear and you start going, ah, I can't hear you, I don't want to hear anything that you say. And you put up that wall and you're like, just get away from me, right? So there's actually no learning that way. But if you take a step back, even in those situations, you can learn something from it, right?
I would remind you of this though, especially if you're athletes, okay? If your coach is yelling at you, it's because they believe you got potential, all right? When your coach doesn't yell at you anymore is really when you gotta be worried. It's because most of the time is when they give up on you. So if your coach is in your ear saying you can do this better or getting on you, it's because they think you're not playing to your potential. When your coach doesn't say anything anymore, pretty much it means that they've given up on you.
And there's a lot of different coaching styles too. There's some that are, so hyped up and competitive in the moment that that's how it comes out. And then others are more, hey, if you try this. So, and a lot of times different athletes need different incentive, right? There are some athletes who, if they don't get yelled at, they're not going to get better. Like they need that push. And there are other athletes who just shut down, and that's not how they function. So, yeah, Nate.
And also, and just be coaches, that's taught by Seeger.
You are very right. Yep, absolutely. Okay, let us move on. Next slide. Okay, so real friends. Real friends have something to teach us through their example. And we've been talking about real friends, and those are the friends that stick with you through the good times and the bad times. They're always there for you. You can rely on them. You can go to them with bad news and good news. They're gonna, they're not gonna go blab about you all over the place. Real friends, just like Jesus is our real friend. Okay, so real friends have something to teach us through their example. They are willing to teach us even when it's uncomfortable, and they are willing to learn from us too, right? So it's a two-way street. You give and you take, and you give and you take. I have developed a really good friendship with a lady in one of the life cares who goes to church here. Her name is Lynn. And for years, we do the life care on Wednesday nights together. And for years, especially the first year that I was going to life care, I was very scared and very nervous, and I didn't know if I'd fit in and didn't know if I had anything to say that would be worth saying. But I'm a people watcher, and I listen to how people speak and what they say and how they act, and I learn from them. And so over the years, I have watched Lynn as she has maneuvered through her life with all her ups and her downs, and I have watched how she prays and how she relies on God. And she has been such a source of strength for me and has taught me so much. Not even just by, hey, this is how you do this, just by watching her and her example of how she'll pray in our life care groups. She knows how to talk to God. And it is not what you would expect. She talks to God just like you and I talk to each other. And I love the way that she does that in front of the group, so that there's a lot of people, even adults, a lot of adults, who struggle with prayer. Well, how do you pray? How do you do it? Is there a right and wrong way? But she has such a love for God, and she doesn't teach, but just by how she does it. When she talks to God, she's just like, hey God, how are you? How's it going today? you know, I'm really struggling with this today, and, you know, I was wondering if you could help me out, and I have no idea what you've got planned for this situation, because I can't see where this is going, but I know you've got this, and it's in your hands, so I'm not going to worry about this. And just the way that she talks to God is just been such an encouragement, and she has taught me so much. So keep your eyes open. Watch people, see what they do, because you can learn from them, especially your church family here. There's a whole room of people over here that would do anything for you guys. All you have to do is ask and say, and they are there for you. Whether you need prayers, if you need, you know, encouragement, if you don't understand something, reach out. This is a family that just loves each other so much. Okay? All right, next one. We're going to do real quick a pair share. Let's see, 1 and 2. Ariel, Faith Ann, can I have you pop over, or Ariel, can I have you pop over with Faith Ann, and you guys just pair up 2s and 2s if you want to split the sisters up there. Christian, can you go with Jackson? And I've got a couple questions up here, just for like a minute or so. What's a lesson you learned recently that was difficult or uncomfortable? If you have one. If you don't have one, that's okay. How did you learn it? And I'm guessing there's something probably at home that's happened that, you know, maybe you've done something, you didn't do something that you probably should have, and so think about that. And when someone corrects or challenges you, how do you usually react? Okay? So just for a minute or two, chat about these questions real quick. Okay? Go ahead.
I only did it once in my previous life, I didn't know.
When somebody tells you you're trying to keep them up, what's your name? How do you feel about that?
I'll feel like mad.
Angry at the person? Yeah.
I get mad.
There's a kid that hates me all the time, and I said, who ate this for and she can't get sick of it.
Well, it's good friend. Right.
And if someone they got my back and I'll get back.
I have to help her. Bobby was like, Bobby
I feel like you're doing work or something. Hey, you're doing that wrong.
Oh my God. That happened to me, and I got so mad to my dad. She put my turns on, like, you are going to do the same.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was fine.
Yeah, but what's your name? I mean,
I was a brilliant one. I'm good at that. She says it's still the same. And then she said, she wants to part-time about what's the wine.
All right, let's see what we've got here. Okay, what's a lesson you learned recently that was difficult or uncomfortable? Does anybody have anything to share?
so you all do easy stuff?
Anything in school? Anything with friends? Anything at home? Everything's going well? No difficulties? Yeah? Okay, communication with parents. Yeah, absolutely. Good, okay. And just the fact that you know you need to try to work on that and get better is a good step forward. But what's one thing that you guys think, and not just Faith Ann, but what's one good thing that you could do to help communication with your parents?
Say something, like text them.
Text them, go down and chat with them, yes? Open the lines of communication,
And always stay in contact with them and where you're going.
yes, very important to let them
And
know.
calling them to make sure where you're going to go talk.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Christian?
If they have like a hobby and you don't really connect with them, like talking with them, you probably join them in what like they're doing, like their activities or
Right.
something.
You want to come live at my house, Christian?
Like your mom likes to walk, so if you said, hey mom, let's go for a walk,
Yeah.
she would probably love that,
Walk
right?
the dog.
Yep, walk the dog, yep, absolutely. Okay. So, Faith Ann, what do you think is one thing you could do to help with that communication? Yep.
He's in for
So
Hey,
they're not worried.
hey, look, everybody listen. It's okay to talk to your parents face to face too.
Yes.
It really is. It's good to go. You know, just say it. It's a healthy thing.
Okay, good. Thank you for sharing. Okay. All right. When someone corrects or challenges you, how do you usually react? Come on, because I
Why don't you
know.
answer this one, Brent?
Thank you. That was so very kind of you. I appreciate it. Amelia.
I don't like when people correct me.
People don't usually correct you.
No, I just don't like when they do. Like, it makes me mad.
It makes you mad, so you don't want to listen,
Like,
right?
it depends on what it is. It depends on who it is.
Yeah, it all depends on who and how they're saying it.
Okay.
Like, someone who doesn't even know, like, what they're talking about, and they're telling me what to do,
Yeah.
like, that's just, like, a whole other level of my
So,
anger.
so a coach telling you how to do something better in soccer, you're more likely to listen than, say, somebody on the football team who's never played soccer before.
Or a team, just
Yeah,
like a teammate.
A teammate, oh my gosh, that's like
The worst
It's
thing
like,
ever.
it's like a bad teammate, and they're telling you what to do.
Okay, but you don't know what those kids do at home, right? So they might have been practicing hours and hours on something at home, so you just gotta keep an open mind, right? Because they might actually have something good to teach you if you listen.
I know what you're saying. It's like
I-
usually the teammates that are like,
I know, there's always those
It's so
kids.
aggravating too, because it's like, what are
You guys are talking about unbelievable stuff, and
Yep.
it's totally legit what you're talking about. But I want you to understand what life is going to happen in life, okay? You're going to go to a job someday, and your boss isn't going to know what they're talking about. All right, seriously.
and they're gonna be powerful.
And they're going to have power over top of you. The way you react to it is what you're going to get out of your job. And it's no ifs, ands, or buts. If they're the boss, then you're going to go out the door. Okay, so I want us to really think about correction a little bit more than we really do. But don't always look at it as a negative thing or whatever it may be, because correction can get us hurt, and understand that sometimes we got to learn how to deal with it, even when it's not coming from the right person, vessel, or whatever it may be. All right, I'll give you an example. When I was in the Marines for 7 years. When I was in my 6th year, we were loading a boat that goes on the shore, and when it hits shore, the trucks drive off, and we go to war. And I had done this several times and everything, but we got a lieutenant who was just right out of the basic school, which means he just got into the Marine Corps, and all he really had was book knowledge. He'd never been out in the field, never knew anything. He said, "You have the LCAC loaded wrong." I said, "Excuse me, sir, I don't have it loaded wrong. I have it loaded totally correct. This is the way we do it. This is what works most efficiently." And he says, "By the book, you have it loaded wrong. Reload it by the book." And we reloaded it by the book. And guess what? One of the trucks didn't fit on the LCAC. Sometimes you got to let people fall on their faces and be humble about it and say, "Hey, you're authority over top of me. You're going to correct me. I'm going to do what you tell me to do. You're not going to take and let them see the results." Because that's what's going to get you further in life sometimes, other than being challenging to someone who does correct you, and it's not really what you want to take in. Okay? Sorry, jump in.
No, that's fine, that was good. Being in that situation when you are being corrected, it takes practice to be able to take a deep breath, step back, and just listen. Just listen and don't react. Okay? So that's a good thing for you guys to do right now is don't get upset, just like be very objective and just listen to what they're saying. Okay? And think about it. Don't say anything, just thank you very much for your input. And think about it. And the more you're able to do that, the better you're going to be able to react in those situations. Okay? So practice that.
Yeah, to go along with that though, all right, some of you guys said you don't like who it comes from, right? I really want you to think about why you don't like who it's coming from, okay? Because we can discount a lot of things just because of who's telling us, all right? If you guys ever would have met the man who said that we should build a church here, we wouldn't have a church here if you would have looked at him. And if you would have heard him speak, he didn't know how to write. He was illiterate. He was pretty much almost homeless, like that's the way he looked. But if Pastor Jeff would have said, you know, Stuart, that's all right. We're going to go look somewhere else. We would never have what we had today. So don't discount the vessel sometimes, but also think about sit on it, like Diane said, and then what's it say? Because that person has almost become an enemy to you because you're not taking them. It says pray for your enemies. And then God will give you perspective on why they may think they can speak into your life. And when you pray for somebody, it's really hard to discount them because you start seeing how God is.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely. Good. Okay. For the last few weeks, we've been talking about some of the ways Jesus models real friendship. Okay? Can we have the next slide? Okay. So the first week, when he chose to befriend people not everyone would have befriended, Jesus showed us real friends choose each other wisely. That was week 1. Okay? When Jesus showed to forgive Saul, he forgave Saul, who then became named as Paul, and changed his life. He showed us that real friends show each other grace, show forgiveness. That third week, last week, when he mourned with his friends over the death of Lazarus, Jesus showed us that real friends comfort each other. But there's one more story that we're going to look at today, and Jesus can teach us through his example. Okay? Jesus recruited 12 disciples, correct? Or students that he was teaching them for the 3 years of the ministry. And they became his very good, close friends. So there's a lot of situations throughout the New Testament with the interaction between Jesus and these disciples of how to treat your friends. So we're going to take a look at one here, okay? Okay, so. In the 3 years, the disciples learned from Jesus that they learned from his example by watching what he did with the people in the community that he interacted with. And also with his interaction with God. They also learned from Jesus' words about what he spoke, both to the large crowds when he was teaching, and then there was moments when it was just him and the disciples, and the words that he used to teach them. Okay? And they also learned from Jesus' correction. Jesus, when the disciples did something wrong, Jesus would correct them lovingly. Okay? And this is one of those situations. So we're going to read through Mark chapter 9, verses 30 through 37. So that's going to be over the next 3 slides, okay? So you guys can follow along up here. They left that place and passed through Galilee. Jesus did not want anyone to know where they were because he was teaching his disciples, so he didn't want the crowds around. He said to them, "The Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men. They will kill him, and after 3 days he will rise." But they did not understand what he meant and were afraid to ask him about it. They came to Capernaum. When he was in the house, he asked them, "What were you arguing about on the road?" But they kept quiet because on the way they had argued about who was the greatest. Sitting down, Jesus called the 12 and said, "Anyone who wants to be first must be the very last and the servant of all." He took a little child whom he placed among them. Taking the child in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever welcomes one of these little children in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one who sent me." Okay, so there's a lot going on here. Okay, first of all, Jesus tells them that he's going to die and rise from the dead. So that completely just goes right over the disciples' heads. They don't understand because they don't have the picture. They don't have the full picture. Okay. So this is pretty big news, and they don't understand. Okay, so instead of them asking Jesus, "Can you explain that? Because we really don't understand what you're talking about." They're walking, they're traveling from Galilee to Capernaum, and so nobody just walks in silence. They're chit-chatting. So, and even instead of talking about this among themselves, what do? They change the subject, and they start talking about who's the best disciple. Which one is the best? Can you see it? Can you see this group of people walking down the road, these 12 friends of Jesus, and they don't want Jesus to hear, but they're like, "Well, I have no idea what he's talking about, but who do you think's the greatest of all of us? Who do you think's the best disciple? Who do you think Jesus loves the most?" Can you see this happening? It's just like I don't want to say a group of teenagers, but they're just chatting, they're chitting. It's crazy. Jesus knows exactly what's going on. And I love the way that Jesus comes up to him and say, "Hey, what were you guys talking about?" Because God knows exactly what they were talking about, right? Just the same way as God knows everything that we're thinking, everything that we do. He knows everything, which is also why he's a really good person to go talk to, because nothing's hidden from him. So you can go to him. But I still like the way he's very kind and very pleasant. So, what were you guys chatting about? To give them an opportunity to speak up and to clear it up, right? So clearly the disciples still had something to learn. So Jesus uses this moment to help them grow by giving them some gentle but direct correction. The message Jesus taught his friends here is really important, right? That God values childlike humility over arrogance and pride, which is why he used that child. He brought the child to show them, this child here, a humble child. Children are just hungry to learn and all of that, and they don't care so much about themselves. And so that's what God was wanting to teach them in a very humble, a very gentle way. He teaches them that what they were doing was wrong, but still teaches them the right way. But what's also really important here is not what was being taught, although what was being taught was important, but how it was being taught. He did not attack them for being very prideful and talking about who's the best, right? Because when you're talking about who's the best, you're also talking about who's the worst and who's the last, right? Okay. Jesus' friends needed to be corrected, but Jesus didn't make fun of them. He didn't embarrass them or make them feel inferior, because Jesus loved his friends, and that was the most important thing, to teach through the love. He wanted to help them grow. Okay? All right. Let's go to the next one. Jesus invited them to grow by living what they were learning. Okay? So in that moment, in that situation, with what was happening right then and there, he wanted to teach them in that moment. Okay? Jesus showed them how to grow by challenging them to love God and others with their everyday choices. Okay? Jesus invited them to grow in the community. Most of the interactions we see in the Bible are with groups of people. That's because we grow best when we have others growing alongside of us, which is why you guys come here on Sundays. As a group, we're learning about God and about Jesus and how to maneuver this world and to get through it and to interact and have relationships with people and how the best way to do that is with God through love. And Jesus invites us to be patient while we grow. He likes to be patient. Our growth is never really complete because learning to live out of faith is a lifelong process. This journey, this Christian journey, it doesn't come to an end. We're constantly learning and growing every single day. That should be our goal, is to learn something new and then not just keep it, but apply it and use it in our lives, with our people in our lives, with our relationships, with our family and our friends and strangers, people we come in contact with. God is patient with us, just like he was patient with his disciples. Jesus was with his disciples. So that teaches us to be patient with people in our lives. Next one. Some questions. When friends try to correct or challenge each other, what are some of the ways things can go wrong? What do you think? When friends challenge or correct each other, how are some examples of things that go wrong? Christian?
They can be offended and then
They could be offended, yeah?
go against them, not find others.
Yeah, yeah. What about their tone? If somebody gets in your face and yells, is that's something that could go wrong, right? How you deliver that correction is really important. Yes? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, you had your hand up, do something different? Or? Same thing? Okay.
Same thing? Okay. When Jesus corrected his friends, how did he do it so lovingly? What was the difference? What were some of the, how was it that Jesus corrected his friends? Yep, in a nice, calm voice. Did he embarrass them? No? No?
What if you have a good friend? Think about this. You have a good friend, like you trust, like good friend. But they tell you something difficult. All right? How do you deal with that? Like, big example that happens in life, all right? You got a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you're in a relationship, but one of your best friends says, hey, you know what? This isn't healthy for you. I see it different for you. I see you're not the person you were before. What do you do?
Yes.
How do you go about it?
You think about what they said.
You can think about what they said, right? But you know that a lot of people don't do that? A lot of people say, nope, they're jealous because I got something they don't want or they don't have. Or they're jealous because I spend more time with that person than I do with them. But really, if that person was your friend before this and you let him speak into your life, what has really changed, right? So I really caution you that if a friend's saying something, to really do exactly what Christian said, listen. And then do a little bit of self-analysis, because sometimes, majority of the time, you can be blinded by the situation you're in. You could be so into this person that it can be blinding you of what your actual true friends who care about you are really thinking is is not best for you.
Okay, we're going to take a quick look now at another scripture in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 11 through 18. And this is a letter that Paul wrote to Timothy. Now, Timothy was, you could say, like a student or an understudy. Paul was teaching him how to be a leader and kind of like to be a pastor of a church. So Paul was writing this letter to encourage Timothy. Okay, so let's take a look at that. But you, man of God, this is Paul talking to Timothy, flee from all this and pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. Fight the good fight of faith. Take hold of the eternal life to which you were called when you made your good confession in the presence of many witnesses. In the sight of God, who gives life to everything, and of Christ Jesus, who while testifying before Pontius Pilate, made the good confession. I charge you to keep this command without spot or blame until the appearing of our Lord Jesus Christ, which God will bring about in his own time. God, the blessed and only ruler, the King of kings and the Lord of lords, who alone is immortal and who lives in an unapproachable light, whom no one has seen or can see. To him be the honor and might forever. Amen. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. Okay? In this letter, Paul helps Timothy grow by encouraging him to run away from evil things, right? Turn the other direction. Live a life of integrity. Do the right thing. Keep growing in his faith every day. Keep studying. Keep reading your Bible. And help others grow too. Yes, grow yourself, but help others grow as well. These are also relevant for us today, just the same as it was for Paul teaching Timothy. It's also advice for all of us today, like Jesus did for his disciples, like Paul did for Timothy, like Paul encouraged Timothy to teach the people of his day, and also we have room to grow and to help others around us grow as well. Okay? So, next slide. When we talk about real friendship, we can't forget this part. Even when it's uncomfortable, difficult, or a little bit awkward, real friends help each other grow. Okay, so that's our big takeaway today. Real friends help each other grow. Okay? Let's go to the next one. So you're like, okay, well, how can I help my friends grow? And here are some ways to do that. Be curious. And this is not all of them. This is just a couple suggestions. You can't help each other grow if you're not sure what's going on in each other's lives. So that requires you asking your friends how they are, what's going on, how'd the weekend go, how's that math class you're really struggling with going, do you need any help? Get involved in their lives. Okay? Be a helper. When a friend comes to you looking for advice, you don't have to pretend to have the answers. Help them go find somebody who can answer their question if you don't know. Be brave. If you're serious about wanting to help your friends grow, sometimes it's going to take an uncomfortable conversation with a friend. Okay? Maybe to encourage them, maybe you invite them to come to Quest sometime. Right? Be humble. You don't know everything. Even if you're convinced your friend needs someone to call them out, don't forget to entertain the possibility that you don't have the full story. Even with your close friends, you might not know everything. So keep an open mind and be humble about that. Be open. If you want to help your friends grow, be open with them. So you have to share your life with them as well, not just be asking about them. But, hey, I found that this worked for me. Maybe it'll help you. Or, this is what's happening in my home. You know, it's easier for people to open up when they have similar things in common. And be an encouragement. When someone tells us what they love or appreciate about us, it makes us want to work harder on the good things they see in us, or encourage us to keep going when we were ready to give up. If there's something you like or appreciate about a friend, tell them. Don't wait, okay? Have you ever heard of the phrase, give them their flowers? No. And a lot of times I think when I was reading over this part here of about funerals, you know, there's always so many beautiful flowers at a funeral, and then there's always people who are sharing memories about the person who passed away, or telling of all the good memories and the stories, and this person did this, and I can't believe how loving and kind this person was, and they did this for me and this for me. But a lot of times we take for granted the people in our lives, our family, our friends, our teachers, our coaches. And so this is kind of a reminder to don't wait till they're gone from your life. Tell people today how important they are to you. The little bit of it, you know, your friend encourages you. Tell them, you know, thank you so much for that time that you encouraged me. It really lifted me up and it really made me feel good. I appreciate you. I find the number of years that I have worked in my lifetime, and the one thing that really makes me work harder is when somebody appreciates me. You know what, I really appreciate the extra time that you put in on that project, or I really appreciate you turning this around real quickly for me, or just those little things of appreciation does wonders for me anyhow. So keep an open mind about that. Look for ways that you can encourage people, that you can tell the people in your life, the ones that you love it. Mom, thank you so much for doing my laundry. I know it's not a fun task, but I really appreciate waking up Monday morning and having clean clothes to wear. Thank you. Just little things like that can go a huge way. And find ways to encourage your friends too. Tell them what you really find special about them. Okay? All right. Wrapping up here. Okay, so as we're finishing up this chapter on real friends, okay, this week I hope you'll take the love of Jesus with you into your week, into your schools, into your homes. I want you to pay attention to who's influencing you and who you're influencing in return, because real friends choose each other wisely. Pick, and it's a back and forth with picking of friends. You pick them and they pick you right back. Be gracious with each other's mistakes and flaws, because real friends show each other grace, forgiveness. Forgive your friends for the mistakes they make, and they'll forgive you. And remember, God forgives us for everything we do when we go to Him and say, please, God, I screwed up, forgive me. And then we are able to go and forgive others because of what God does for us. Reach out and support someone who needs it, because real friends comfort each other in good times and bad times. And then look for ways to help make each other better, because real friends help each other grow. That's all I got for you.
Thank you, Diane.